There is a moment in the deepest part of winter when the world holds its breath. The sun hangs low on the horizon. The nights stretch long and cold, and in that darkness, our ancestors felt something more than the absence of light. They felt the presence of something unknown, something vast and waiting. But into that ancient fear, a new story was born. Not a story of survival through ritual or the return of the sun through sacrifice, but a story of a different kind of light altogether. A light that did not simply return with the seasons, but entered the world once and changed it forever. This is the sacred history of Christmas, a forgotten Christian lore that transformed the winter solstice from a season of terror into a season of hope. Welcome back to Whispered Chronicles, Echoes of Forgotten Lore. In our previous journey, we explored the pagan roots of midwinter celebrations, the ancient fires lit against the dying sun, the evergreen boughs hung as talismans against death itself. But tonight, we turn to the faith that claimed those symbols and gave them new meaning. Tonight, we speak of the star, the Magi, the hallowing of darkness itself. And we remember that December 25th is not an ending, but a beginning. The first day of a sacred journey that our modern world has almost entirely forgotten. The journey of the 12 days of Christmas. To understand the Christian transformation of midwinter, we must first understand what winter meant to the soul. The winter solstice is more than an astronomical event. It is a threshold, liminal space where the boundary between light and dark, life and death, becomes thin and uncertain. Ancient peoples marked this moment with desperate celebration. The Romans held their Saturnalia, a festival of reversed order and frantic merriment. The Norse lit fires and made sacrifice to ensure the sun's return. The Celts watched the longest night with both reverence and dread. But there was always an undercurrent of fear. What if this time the light did not return? What if the sun continued its descent into the underworld and never emerged? Into this fear, Christianity spoke a radical promise. The light has already returned. Not as a distant, capricious sun that might abandon humanity at any moment, but as a child born in the coldest, darkest part of the year. A light that came not from the heavens above, but from the earth below. Born in a manger, in straw, among animals, vulnerable, human, and yet eternal. This is the mystery at the heart of Christmas. God entering the world not in power and glory, but in weakness and humility. In the very season when the world seems most forsaken, the early church deliberately chose to celebrate Christ's nativity during the winter solstice season. While scholars debate the actual date of Jesus' birth, the theological symbolism is clear and intentional. Christ is the light of the world, and he enters that world at its darkest hour. This was not cultural appropriation or pagan compromise. It was transformation. It was the hollowing of time itself. Now we come to one of the most enduring mysteries of the Christmas story, the Star of Bethlehem. In the Gospel of Matthew, we are told that wise men from the east saw a star rising and followed it to Judea, seeking a king. This single detail has captivated imaginations for 2 millennia. What was this star? Was it a miracle, a natural phenomenon, or something in between? Historians and astronomers have long sought to identify the Star of Bethlehem with actual celestial events recorded around the time of Christ's birth. One compelling theory points to a series of planetary conjunctions between 7 and 6 BC. Jupiter, known to ancient astrologers as the king planet, passed remarkably close to Saturn in the constellation of Pisces, the sign associated with the Jewish people. This triple conjunction would have appeared as a brilliant, slow-moving light in the eastern sky, visible for months. Another theory suggests a supernova or a nova, a dying star that suddenly flares into brilliant visibility before fading again. Chinese astronomical records from around 05 BC do record an unusual celestial phenomenon, described as a guest star that appeared and then vanished. Yet another possibility is a comet, though historical records of comets from that precise period are sparse and uncertain. But here is where the sacred and the scientific meet in mysterious harmony. The Church has never insisted that the star was purely supernatural, divorced from the natural order. Instead, the tradition suggests something more profound. That God works through his creation, that the heavens themselves announced what was happening on earth. The star represents a bridge between the cosmic and the intimate. Between the movements of planets billions of miles away and a child born in a small village, between ancient astrological wisdom and divine revelation, it suggests that the universe itself participated in the incarnation. Here is what modern culture has forgotten. Christmas Day, December 25th, is not the climax of the season. It is the beginning. The true season of Christmas, in Christian tradition, is not the weeks of Advent leading up to the Nativity, but the 12 days following it. From December 25th to January 6th, from the birth of Christ to the arrival of the Magi, from the light entering the world to the light being revealed to the nations, this is the Christmastide. And it was once the most sacred season of the year. In medieval Europe, the 12 days of Christmas were a time of continuous celebration, spiritual reflection, and sacred drama. Work ceased. Ordinary time was suspended. The doors between heaven and earth were understood to be open. Each day had its own feast, its own saint, its own spiritual significance. December 26th, the feast of Saint Stephen, the first martyr, reminding us that the coming of Christ also meant the coming of sacrifice. December 27th, the feast of Saint John the Evangelist, the beloved disciple who bore witness to the light. December 28th, the feast of the Holy Innocents, commemorating the children murdered by Herod, acknowledging that the light came into a world that sought to extinguish it. And so the days continued, each one a meditation on the meaning of the Incarnation, building toward the climax on the 12th day, Epiphany. In many European countries, particularly in Ireland, Italy, Spain, and Eastern Orthodox nations, January 6th is still called Little Christmas or Women's Christmas. It is the day when the festive season truly ends. The Christmas decorations are finally taken down, when the story reaches its conclusion. But what conclusion is that? To understand, we must turn to the Magi themselves. The three wise men remain among the most mysterious figures in the Nativity story. The Gospel of Matthew tells us almost nothing about them. They come from the East. They are Magi, a term that referred to Zoroastrian priests, astrologers, and scholars from Persia and Mesopotamia. They followed a star. They brought three gifts: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Later, Christian tradition gave them names: Caspar, Melchior, and Balthazar. It gave them ages and appearances, making them represent youth, middle age, and elderhood. Some traditions made them represent different races and continents, symbolizing all of humanity seeking Christ. But who were they, really? The historical Magi were members of an ancient priestly caste in Persia. They were astrologers, yes, but not in the superficial sense we understand today. They were learned men who studied the movements of the heavens as a form of theology. They believed that the cosmos was alive with meaning, that the stars spoke a divine language that could be read by those with wisdom and patience. They were seekers, scholars, men who had devoted their lives to understanding the divine order of the universe, and then they saw something that defied their understanding. A sign in the heavens that pointed not to their own lands, not to their own temples, but to a distant country, to an occupied province of the Roman Empire, to a people they likely considered barbarians. And they went. This is the theological heart of the Epiphany. The revelation that Christ came not only for the Jews, not only for the faithful, not only for the righteous, but for the world, for the pagans, for the foreigners, for those who sought truth wherever it could be found. The journey of the Magi is the journey of human wisdom encountering divine mystery. They came following their own learning, their own science, their own understanding of the heavens, and they found something that transcended all of it. They found a child, and they knelt. Now we come to the deepest mystery of the Christian transformation of midwinter, the concept of hallowing, making something holy, not by destroying it, but by consecrating it, by revealing its true meaning. The early Christians did not simply replace pagan winter festivals with their own celebrations. They transformed them. They revealed what those ancient rituals had been reaching toward all along. The evergreen boughs that pagans hung as symbols of life persisting through death. Christians kept them, but reinterpreted them as symbols of eternal life through Christ, who conquered death itself. The lights and fires lit against the darkness. Christians kept them, but understood them as representations of Christ, the light of the world, who entered the darkness and transformed it. The feasting and gift-giving, Christians kept them, understanding them as expressions of the generosity of God, who gave the ultimate gift, himself, in human form. This was not theft. It was fulfillment. The Church taught that Christ did not come to abolish what was good in human culture, but to complete it, to reveal its true meaning, to hallow it. And so the dark season itself was hallowed. The cold, the night, the winter that had been a time of fear became a time of waiting, of preparation, of expectant hope. In the old pagan understanding, winter was death and spring was resurrection. But Christianity offered something more paradoxical. It suggested that life could be born in the midst of death, that light could shine in darkness, that hope could flourish in the coldest season. The winter was no longer simply something to be survived or feared. It became sacred in its own right. A time of reflection, of turning inward, of encountering the divine in stillness and silence. The darkness itself was hallowed. In our modern world, we have almost entirely lost the sacred rhythm of Christmastide. Christmas, for most people, ends on December 25th. The decorations come down on December 26th. The stores move immediately to Valentine's Day displays. The spiritual journey from Nativity to Epiphany, from birth to revelation, is collapsed into a single day or even into the weeks before Christmas, leaving the actual feast day strangely empty. We have forgotten the 12 days. We have forgotten Little Christmas. We have forgotten that January 6th is meant to be a feast day as significant as Christmas itself. And in forgetting this, we have lost something essential about the Christian understanding of time and meaning. The 12 days teach us that revelation is not instantaneous, that the full meaning of the Incarnation takes time to unfold, that we must journey as the Magi journeyed, from our own lands of understanding into foreign territory, guided by signs we may not fully comprehend, seeking something we have never seen but know must exist. The journey from Christmas to Epiphany is the journey from private devotion to public mission, from the intimate family scene in the stable to the revelation to the nations, from the shepherds, the lowest of society, who came immediately, to the Magi, the learned and powerful, who took months or even years to arrive. It is the story of Christ's light expanding outward from a single point, gradually illuminating more and more of the world. We stand now at the end of this journey. From the threshold of winter to the star to the 12 days to the Magi kneeling before a child, what does this ancient Christian lore offer us in our modern age? Perhaps it offers us something we desperately need, a sense of sacred time, a rhythm that moves against the frenetic pace of commercial culture, a space for contemplation in the darkest season. The Christian transformation of midwinter was not simply a historical event that happened 17 centuries ago. What is an ongoing invitation? An invitation to see the darkness not as something to be feared or fled from, but as the necessary backdrop against which the light becomes visible. An invitation to understand that the divine does not come in power and spectacle, but in vulnerability and humility. An invitation to journey, as the Magi journeyed, beyond our own certainties and into mystery. The message of Christmas, in its deepest Christian sense, is this: Emmanuel, not in the spring, when life returns naturally. Not in the summer, when the world is abundant and easy, but in the dead of winter, in the darkest hour, when we need him most. The light has entered the world, and the darkness, no matter how deep, has not overcome it. This is the forgotten lore, the sacred history that transforms the winter solstice from a moment of fear into a season of hope, from the return of the sun to the arrival of the sun, and it is still here, still waiting, for those who have ears to hear and eyes to see. The 12 days of Christmas are not gone, they are simply forgotten. And what is forgotten can be remembered. Thank you for watching Whispered Chronicles, Echoes of Forgotten Lore. Until our next journey, may you find light in the darkness. May you journey like the Magi, seeking truth wherever it leads. And may you discover, in the coldest season, the warmth of a love that entered the world to redeem it. Thank you for walking this path with me. I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas, filled with love and joy.